Hello, my name's Dr. Sharon Scambry and I'm here today to talk to you about strategic marketing. This recording will be the first of a series that is provided in the coming weeks and months. We'll be working from the Ferrell and Hartline text published by Cengage, and we'll be going through their 10 chapters in this textbook step by step. Overall, we'll be looking to identify what is a competitive advantage and how do we generate a competitive advantage. We'll be looking at how it is that marketing strategy is research informed. We'll be looking at the integration of corporate social responsibility and ethical considerations in marketing strategy, and there will be an emphasis throughout on customer relationships. So to begin with, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get going with Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is titled Marketing in Today's Economy. And we begin our discussion with talking about the challenges and opportunities of marketing in today's economy. Then we'll look at the basic marketing concepts and the major marketing activities and decisions. And we end up with a discussion on taking on these challenges of marketing. All right, so commoditization to begin with. Commoditization happens when we've got a combination of a mature industry where innovation has slowed down because there's already so much on offer, and consumers are price sensitive. So think about laundry detergent, for example. Laundry detergent is an example of an industry that has reached maturity. So they've gone past the growth stage, they're at the plateau stage. Innovation is not high in this industry, although there currently are some innovations with regards to packaging. But there's like 1,000 different laundry detergents on offer out there. And so frugal consumers are forcing margins to the floor. And this is what we mean by commoditization. So how do we deal with this, right? Well, effective planning and effective research, intensive research. In today's economy, we're faced with rapid technological change as well as high economic and financial anxiety, and consumers are highly discerning. So there's no pulling the wool over their eyes. We have to face up to it that there is a power shift. We, the astute marketers, need to face up to recognizing that there is a power shift away from the organization, away from the marketers to the consumers. In the golden age of the 1950s, when advertising was king, the organizations held the power. But it's 2021. That social media, people live online. Social media is now king. And so we see this power shift to the consumers. We've already flagged that there's this massive increase in product selection, product on offer. And this increased amount of product selection for consumers kind of generates a paradox in that this increase in choice causes a paralysis where maybe they don't really want to make a decision at all. Maybe it's the price that matters for them, or maybe it's the brand that they know, or maybe it's what, auntie tells you is the best option. That's what you're going to choose just so that you don't have to make a decision. We, the marketers, also need to recognize that the media today is fragmenting, right? Again, from the golden age of the 1950s, where most advertising was via mass media channels, right? But mass media consumption is decreasing at a rapid rate. TVs, newspapers, magazines, these media channels are on their way out. On the way up, we have social media, we have streaming platforms. And what this means is that there is a fragmentation in media consumption. So effectively, if you know how to use these platforms for marketing purposes, then you can achieve some very precise targeting. But forget the mass marketing of the bygone era. That's not going to work anymore. We, the marketers, can also recognize that consumer values are changing. It's consumers, what they see as valuable is changing. Amazon Prime, for example, FedEx overnight deliveries. You know, if it's not there in a hurry, then do we want it at all? So technology has impacted consumer expectations to the point where meeting these expectations becomes a challenge. There's also a shift in demand patterns. Let me use the example of music consumption, for example. Technology has taken us from the days of the vinyl LP to the cassette, to the CD, to the DVD, and onto online streaming platforms. And so, you know, consumers that are interested in a retro product may well be consuming the vinyl or the cassette recordings, but most consumers are more interested in having 1,000 songs on their iTunes, for example. With regards to privacy, security, and ethical considerations, we do live in an increasingly surveillance environment. And so what does this mean? It means that privacy is no longer guaranteed. But maybe some consumers are not as concerned about that as others. For example, younger consumers don't seem to be concerned about privacy or lack of, whereas older consumers do. Chinese consumers readily assume that their privacy is not guaranteed, and they're quite comfortable with a highly surveilled community. Maybe not so much in Western communities, Western nations. And, you know, while many people may live online, cyberspace is an unregulated marketplace. And so the legal jurisdictions, the legalities online are unclear. So, you know, when we think about marketing, what are we talking about? What is marketing? It's a question that the American Marketing Association tells us that marketing is a process. It's a process of creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers and society at large. Customers, stakeholders, and society at large. All right, but we've already just said in the previous slide that what constitutes value for customers is changing. And so we as astute marketers need to be able to keep up with that. Let's go over the basic concepts first. A basic concept in marketing is a market. What am I talking about? A market is a group of individuals or maybe organizations or even institutions that have similar needs that can be met by a specific product. A market space is a place. An electronic marketplace is unbound by time or space. Then we have a meta market. And this is a cluster of closely related goods and services that center around specific consumption activity. And in a meta market, we have meta-mediaries, which provide a single access point where buyers can locate and contact many different sellers in the meta market. All right, so here's examples of meta-mediaries. Cars.com in the automobile industry, Realtor.com in the home ownership space. Okay, so Cars.com is a platform or an app, a website or an app where many dealerships come together to make their offer to the marketplace, and some private sellers as well. And so consumers can come into this platform, can come into this app and look at the many and varied different vehicles for sale. Similarly, with realtor.com, there's many real estate agencies who have their offer placed on this site in this app, and some private sellers as well, and consumers who are looking to buy a home can come into this market space to figure out what's the best offer. Now, exchange is another basic marketing concept that we need to consider as well. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the process of obtaining something of value by offering something in return. And there's 5 conditions of exchange that we need to recognize. Must be at least 2 parties, and each must have something of value for the other party. There must be a capability of communication and delivery. Each party must be free to accept or reject the exchange, and each party must believe that it is desirable to exchange with the other party. Okay, another basic concept in marketing is a product. What is a product? A product can actually be many things, but it's something acquired through the exchange process to satisfy a need or a want. A product can be a good, such as a vehicle, a service, such as higher education. It can be a person, such as Kim Kardashian, a place, such as Nashville, Tennessee. It can be an idea, such as the pink ribbon that is symbolic of breast cancer research. It can be experiences, such as a Caribbean cruise, for example. And it can be other things, such as information, digital products, and organization. All right. Utility, as another basic marketing concept, is about the ability of a product to satisfy a customer's need or want. So it's about usefulness. And there's different types of utility. We can talk about form utility, time utility, place utility, possession utility, and psychological utility. Let's go through each of these in turn. Form utility. So the product has distinguishing features, such as blue ink in a pen, for example. Time utility. The product is available when the customer wants it, such as a recording of an online clip such as this that's available on YouTube or available on Canvas. Okay, available on Blackboard. Okay, so a place utility. This is when the product is available where the customers want it. So is it in store? Is it on the shelf? Is it online? Does it have place utility? Possession utility deals with the easy transfer of ownership or title, and psychological utility is about the product providing positive experiential attributes that the customer wants or needs. Now, marketing activities and decisions. Strategic planning is an essential part of how to do good marketing, how to do effective marketing. And of course, we have to understand that strategic planning is going to be driven by strategy. What is strategy? Think about strategy as a game plan for success. Strategic planning also includes tactics, and tactics focus on specific segments in the marketplace so that the marketing activities, the marketing programs that are designed meet the needs of that specific market segment. And then a marketing plan is where we put all this, all the details of our recommended marketing program together. Now, of course, astute marketing strategy is research informed And there's various ways that we go about doing market research. Internal analysis, so what we're talking about there is analysing the firm's performance. Competitive intelligence, so what we're talking about there is analysing our competitors' operations. Environmental scanning takes on the bigger picture, what's going on in the external environment. Situation analysis is about collecting and interpreting, putting together not only that external environmental scanning, but also the internal analysis and the competitor analysis. So a situation analysis has three components. Let's just say that again. A situational analysis has three components. It begins with the broad macro environmental scanning. Then it moves into the competitor analysis information that we've been able to gather. And then it goes internal. What do we see with the internal analysis? So to develop a competitive advantage, we need to have something bigger, better, bolder than our competitors, and we need to deliver it more efficiently, more effectively. So a competitive advantage is an edge through which we serve our consumer needs, our customer needs. And sometimes establishing, maintaining, and nurturing relationships with important stakeholders, such as our customers, maybe our supply chain, for example, this may constitute our edge, our competitive advantage. And a competitive advantage is important because it helps set the strategic focus for the entire rest of the marketing program. We have to make decisions for an astute marketing strategy. We have to decide, how are we going to segment the marketplace? What variables, what characteristics are we going to use to group the market into identifiable smaller pieces? And then from the point of segmenting the market, we're not going to target all of the segments that we've identified. We're only going to target some, or even few, or maybe even only one. So marketing program decisions, they create a link between the benefits of our product that we have on offer and what the customer needs. And we have to make sure that those dots are connected. Marketing program decisions include pricing decisions. It also includes distribution and logistic decisions. And it also includes how we are going to communicate and promote our offer in the marketplace. Branding and positioning are definitely high on the list, and positioning is all about how the product, how the offer sits in the consumer's mind. What's the mental image that customers have of your product? We cannot forget about corporate social responsibility and business ethics. We're talking about here maximizing the positive impact on society while minimizing the negative effects on the environment, for example. Marketing ethics are about a standard and the principles that we operate within, and these define acceptable conduct. Now, of course, that may vary from country to country, from culture to culture, and even from market segment to market segment. But whatever the standards and principles that define acceptable conduct, we need to be in touch with that. We need to be in touch with what it is that our customers need and want. Now, at the end of the day, when we're implementing our devised marketing program, what we're talking about there is executing. We're talking about putting our plan into action. We have to make sure that it's monitored so that we know whether or not we're on track and whether or not we need to tweak it, whether or not we need to adjust it if we're off track, right? So we have to measure and monitor and control. All throughout, we emphasize the need to develop and maintain customer relationships. And what this means is shifting from the traditional transactional form of marketing to a much stronger relationship-oriented version of marketing. And this table here gives you oops, this table here gives you different aspects of what is transactional marketing as opposed to what is relationship marketing. So transactional marketing focuses on customer acquisition. But you know what? Astute marketers, we've figured out that customer acquisition is actually expensive. It's much easier, much less expensive to retain your customers. So this is why it's a good idea to build relationships, to nurture relationships with customers. So transactional marketing is a short-term focus, whereas relationship marketing is a longer-term focus. The goal with transaction marketing is to make the sale. The goal with relationship marketing is mutual satisfaction between the organization and the customer, or maybe the stakeholder. Rather than creating exchange, we want to create value. But as we flagged at the beginning, there's shifting value propositions. You know, what consumers consider as value is changing. And we as astute marketers need to keep up with that. We need to keep up with these market dynamics. In transactional marketing, there's actually low to moderate customer contact. With relationship marketing, we deliberately and frequently communicate and keep in touch with our client base. So the source of competitive advantage for transactional marketing is about production. The source of competitive advantage for relationship marketing is commitment. Okay, now we've flagged a lot in this short time, but let's come back to what are the challenges of marketing strategy. I've mentioned several times in this recording that the market is dynamic and we as astute marketers need to keep up with that changing dynamic, with the changing market conditions, and we need to make sure that when we're adjusting our offer according to those changing market dynamics. Marketing itself is all about people. So marketing strategy is the people-driven nature of marketing, right? So marketing as a people-driven business will derive effective strategy. We need to recognize the humanity in the marketing that we do. There are no rules and there's no right or wrong answers. It's all about market demand. And to identify what is market demand and effectively meet market demand, we need to do our homework. And this is a continual process. So the environmental scanning is a continual process. Societal evolution of marketing and business practices happens, right? Society is evolving. You know, the contemporary consumers are very much concerned about plastic pollution and negative environmental impact. So marketing and business practices need to keep up with that. So organic foods, plastic-free packaging, artificial-free food products, all of these are designed in response to the evolution of consumer demand and therefore the evolution of marketing and business practice. Increasing customer expectations. One of my research talks about the peanut syndrome, right? So the peanut syndrome is about on air flights, for example, where there was a day where there were no pretzels or peanuts distributed throughout the cabins in flight. There were no, there was no Wi-Fi on in-flight transit. Maybe there were no even entertainment options during a flight. But that is no longer the case. And if consumers don't get their pretzels or their Wi-Fi or their in-flight entertainment, then they're stamping their feet, right? So marketers need to keep up with this increasing customer expectations. There's decreasing customer satisfaction and brand loyalty going on as well, because consumers are becoming more sophisticated. And why do they need to be loyal to a particular brand? Give them a reason, and ask them why not. And so many times marketing strategy, marketing consumer choice comes down to price sensitivity. We can also talk about changing customer attitudes towards business and marketing activities. So millennials are known for their mistrust of advertising, because they're savvy consumers, and there's no need to even attempt to fudge the information that you're presenting to the millennial consumer. Competition in mature markets oftentimes comes down to price, because of the mature markets have kind of ridden the wave of innovation, and what more is there to do? And in mature markets where young startup organizations come along and disrupt such mature markets, because organizations that have grown up with a certain formula find it very difficult to turn around and change their organizational culture, to change their offer that has been so successful over the years, right? So startup organizations are disrupting these mature markets. There's an increase in international marketing, and organizations prior to coronavirus were expanding, using a market expansion strategy to venture into foreign lands. But coronavirus has put a stop to that for the minute, at least. Doesn't mean it's gone forever, but for now, expansion into foreign markets is probably not a good idea. And of course, organizations are always looking for the most efficient marketing strategy options that are out there. And in times of recession, such as the current economic climate, most countries around the world are currently in recession. So there's aggressive cost-cutting measures being undertaken, and that the standard go-to for cost-cutting is to cut the sales and advertising budget. But that's not necessarily a smart move. That's not a good strategic move, because what you're effectively doing is closing the door on your sales, or at least trying to shut that door, or, to some extent. And we as an astute marketers need to keep those sales rolling in. All right, so there you go. There's a quick overview of chapter 1 from Ferrell and Hartline. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll see you again soon. And thanks very much.